Fractions have a tendency to frighten some people, but fractions can be very easy to use and actually a little friendlier than decimals sometimes, especially if you don't have a calculator. We're going to be looking at a couple examples of dividing fractions. Keisha finds her favorite yarn on sale and buys 20 balls of it. She can make one scarf from 4/5 of a ball. If she uses all 20 balls of yarn, how many scarves can she make? Now sometimes as soon as students see the 4/5, they freeze and think they can't even work the problem. So sometimes what might be helpful is to substitute some numbers in to see if that fraction wasn't there, how would you work the problem then? For instance, let's say that instead of the fact that one scarf can be made from 4/5 of a ball, let's just say, and this is just a little side note, let's say that 2 balls equals 1 scarf. Well, if you knew that, if 2 balls made 1 scarf and you had 20 balls, you'd probably see I'm going to take 20 divided by 2 and I could make 10 scarves. So if that's the case, then you're still going to use division, but we're going to have to divide by that 4/5. Okay, I got rid of our little sample problem, and now we'll go back to the one that we have to work. We know it's a division problem. So I'm going to take 20, and I'm going to divide it by 4/5. When we're working with fractions, we don't divide by the fractions, but instead we multiply by their reciprocals. So I'm going to rewrite this as 20 times 5/4. That's the reciprocal of 4/5. And sometimes it's easier just to keep track of how you're multiplying to make your whole numbers be a fraction. So 20 is the same thing as 20/1. Now I'm going to look for common factors within the numerator denominator to simplify. 4 goes into 20 5 times. So 5 times 5 means 25. So she can make 25 scarves with the 20 balls that she purchased. Now let's see if that makes sense. If it was 1 ball to 1 scarf, then there'd be 20 scarves. 4/5. 4/5 is less than 1, so it's going to take less than 1 ball to make each scarf. So it does make sense that she's going to be making over 20 balls. So 25 is a reasonable number. Now if you had problems with the simplification, another thing you could do is this. You could break down that 20 into 5 times 4 to start with, and then you can see that where I cross things out, we just took out a factor of 4. So I have 5 times 5, or 25 scarves. The relay team swims 4/5 of a mile in total, with each team member responsible for swimming 4/15 of a mile. The team must complete the swim in 3/5 of an hour. How many swimmers are on the team, and if they each swim for the same amount of time, how long would each member swim? Lots of fractions, but we can work through this. First of all, let's answer the first part of the question. How many swimmers would be on the team? If they're swimming 4/5 of a mile, and each swimmer swims 4/15 of a mile, that's a division problem. So 4/5 divided by 4/15. And again, we don't divide by 4/15, that's our divisor, we multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to change this to 4/5 times 15/4. Now, I'll simplify this before I multiply. So I can cancel out common factors of 4. 5 goes into 15 3 times. That means I have 3 swimmers on the team. Now, if that simplification was hard to follow, let's do it this way. You could even multiply through without simplifying. So I could have the 4 times the 15, and that would be 60, over 5 times 4 is 20, because multiplying fractions is pretty easy. Then I can divide that and get my 3 swimmers. The second part of the question asks, how long would each member swim? Well, in this case, the total is 3/5 of an hour. So if we take the 3/5 of an hour and we divide it by 3 swimmers, we can find out how much time each one had to swim. So in this case, we're not going to divide by the 3, we're going to multiply by 1/3. And when we do that, and this time I won't cross things out, I'll just multiply through, because when we multiply fractions, we do not need a common denominator. So this would be 3/15, which would then simplify since 3 goes into 3 once and 3 goes in there 5 times. They would each swim 1/5 of an hour. Now, if you wanted to change that to minutes, we could do that simply by taking 1/5 of how many minutes are an hour? That would be 60. I'm going to make this 60 over 1 since we're working with the fractions. 60/5 simplifies to 12 minutes. So lots of fractions there, but easy to do.